My name is Zach Arnold. I'm a Hollywood television editor and producer, a coach and mentor, a father of two, an American Ninja Warrior, and the creator of Optimize Yourself. And I'm here to help creative professionals design a career and a life that you absolutely love without having to sacrifice your health, your relationships, or, most importantly, your sanity in the process. Let's dive right in and start designing the optimized version of you. Hello, and welcome to episode 173 of the Optimize Yourself podcast. It means the world to me that with all the podcast choices that are out there, you have chosen to spend your valuable time and energy today with me. I promise that you're not going to regret it after listening to today's show. As creative professionals, we constantly have to reinvent ourselves to stay relevant and, frankly, just to survive the insanity of our industry. The pressure to come up with new ideas and be daring, well, it's stressful at best, and honestly, can be debilitating at worst. Many of us are under the illusion that this pressure that we place on ourselves gives us our edge and that it helps us to continue to perform our best. However, this pressure often can lead to limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, and procrastination, and if it persists over long enough periods of time, it can even lead to total burnout. But what if there was a better approach to reinventing yourself, your work, and even your health and your body image so you could fully tap into your limitless creativity? How different would it be to be able to say yes to things that scared you and no to the things that were comfortable and that were easy, rather than constantly feeling stuck in a job or a life that you no longer enjoy? Or maybe it's about sliding into bad habits that are sapping your energy, like that sleeve of Oreos that tasted so good, and oh my God, can I relate, and killing your motivation every single night because you need to watch just one more episode, and then of course you're going to be productive. But then what if you could actually rise to the challenge with a can-do attitude and believe your dreams are possible? Well, my guest today, Scott Morgan, is a PGA golf professional turned online fitness trainer. He's a husband. He's a father of two. He's a plant-based athlete, and he is the creator of the Sweatville Club. He also happens to be 58 years old. And in only the last few years has he made this transition to online fitness trainer and entrepreneur, plant-based athlete, and all the other things that he's doing during the period of life when most people would have considered it, quote unquote, too late to learn something new or follow a passion that seemed risky or even foolish. Scott's story will inspire you to take a risk, jump out of your comfort zone, and discover what it is like to live life with a can-do attitude. And if you check any of his photos, you're also going to see it is possible to be completely and totally ripped at 58. The guy is a monster. All right, without further ado, here's my conversation with PGA golf pro, online fitness trader, and all-around badass Scotty Morgan, whom I not only consider one of my workout buddies, but also a friend. To access the show notes for this episode with all the bonus links and resources discussed today, as well as to subscribe, leave a review, and more, simply visit optimizeyourself.me/episode 173. I'm here today with Scott Morgan, who is a PGA golf professional turned online fitness trainer. He's a husband, he's a father of two, he is a plant-based athlete, and the creator of the Sweatville Club. And as much as you're going to hate that I'm going to say it, also the inventor of monads. And everybody's like, what in the world is he talking about? Already I'm making the guy cringe before he even says hello. But Scott, it is a pleasure to finally have you here to have this conversation on the record.
Oh, Zach, such a thrill. Such a thrill to be here with you and to have our little open conversation to talk to your audience that I see just continues to grow and grow. And I just love the opportunity to share some nuggets that might help your audience. So yeah, right on, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an awesome, immense pleasure to have you here, and people are going to know why I feel that way very shortly. But first, I want to address a giant elephant in the room. What in the world am I doing talking to a PGA golf professional on my podcast? I got to say, not a whole lot of golf professionals on this show. I talk a lot about Hollywood and the industry and networking and creativity and finding an agent and improving your skill set. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to a golf pro. What could that possibly have to do with me being a better editor, writer, creative professional, right? So I'm gonna tell a little story, and then maybe you can give your version of the story. Anybody that listens to the podcast regularly knows that about give or take 4 years ago, I woke up one morning and I had the audaciously stupid idea of becoming an American Ninja Warrior. And through one path to another, that led me to Tony Horton's backyard, creator of the P90X mega fitness phenomenon. And I believe it was either my second or third Sunday, all of a sudden there's just this really super happy, super smiley, friendly guy. And I was showing up at that house like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I'm going to get my ass kicked. This is terrifying. And then this guy named Scotty Morgan just comes up, shakes my hand, super friendly. And the rest is history, much of which we're going to talk about. But I got to say, and I've told you this before, I want to just set the record straight for anybody that's listening, just to make it very clear where we stand on the Sunday workouts. You, my friend, are my ninja spirit animal. And we're going to talk about what that means more. But before we dive into all the ninja stuff, the reason you're here is this idea that we've talked a little bit offline before the call, and also extensively during our many, many crazy Ninja Sunday workouts. This idea that age really means very, very little, and that you can really invent yourself at any point in your life, and you are proof positive of that. Now, my understanding is, and I could be wrong from looking at Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, are we recording on your 58th birthday, or was that yesterday?
Oh, thank you. That was yesterday. Yesterday was... I uploaded version 5.8.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, that was awesome. And if people saw what you are physically capable of, just at any age, number one, astounding. What you're physically capable of at technically, quote unquote, your age is just, it's unfathomable. And we're going to talk about how you created version 5.8 over the course of the last 58 years. But I guess to get started, just introduce yourself to this audience that probably isn't familiar with you and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, yesterday was uploaded version 5.8, which I think your audience can probably relate exactly what I mean by uploading a new program. But yeah, so background is a golf pro for 25 years, and married for 25 years, and my fitness was just it was never nothing I was ever serious about it. I did some running, I did some marathons. So I had an athletic background through high school and college. So it's not like I wasn't athletic. But then fast forward, and then after watching myself through marathons and doing these 20-week programs, and after finishing one marathon and seeing a picture of myself at the finish line, I'm like, that does not look like this, the vision of fitness to me when I saw those pictures they take you at the finish line. And then, then I stumbled on P90X, our good friend Tony Horton, that we'll talk more about those workouts. But that was the game changer for me. I mean, I did it for a week. The true story is I did it for a week. I was in so much pain after that first week that I put it down and it went back on the shelf in the garage. And then months or so later, I pulled it back out and committed to it. And that's when life changed for me. And as a golf pro, physically as a golf pro, that the industry doesn't really take it as seriously as they should for golfers, and that was a big thing for me to learn some of the things that I learned in P90X and P90X2, and I instituted a lot of those things, or integrated, I should say, integrated a lot of those things into my teaching with my students. So when I focused on that, I finished the program. I lose 40 pounds. People are asking me, like, "What are you okay? Are you sick?" It's typically the first question. You look really skinny. I said, "No, I'm great. I did that crazy P90X program, and I'm eating better. I'm drinking more water." And then I became sort of a walking billboard of, especially in golf and in the facility that I used to run as the head pro and GM, where people would just constantly ask me, "What have I done? What have I done?" And that's when I just started leaning more into the fitness world. That was 47 when I decided. So talk about age, right? And where we are in the chapters of our life. Up to 47, I was athletic again, running, but true solid fitness and how it helped me wasn't until I was 47 until I pulled that program out and committed to it. So, and then from there, I can go all kinds of different directions from there, but that's where, I'll touch on, I wanted to physically make a change because of what I saw in the mirror. right? And I knew that my back was in a lot of pain, and I just struggled. Um, but little did I know that this simple, well, 90 days, 3 months. This, I say simple. It wasn't simple, but this short amount of time. Little did I know that not only did I become physically stronger at 47, but mentally, like we all have our jobs, we all have our lives and finance, and our employees, our coworkers, our family, our neighbors. Little did I know how much that was going to affect the mental side of my brain to deal with things that were difficult in my life. That I wasn't prepared for. I sure loved losing 40 pounds and how I looked in the mirror, but little did I know how it was going to help me on that mental road. So that's kind of how we've come to here. Where now I'm in this fitness world, and the golf is actually taking a slight back seat to my main focus.
Well, I definitely want to go a lot deeper into all the stuff that you're into now, but I want to go back in the past a little bit first and hit a couple of points that I think are really important. To see you at the end of 90 days of P90X, and for somebody to watch the weight drip off of you, and all of a sudden you've got, these curves or these chiseled lines, there's no question how you did it, right? Oh, well, you just popped in the DVD for 90 days and you did what the fitness clown told you to do. By the way, right. I'm not calling him a fitness clown. Tony calls himself America's fitness clown. That's right. For anybody that's not familiar. So that's an inside joke. But what I'm always way more interested in is why. Because you did exactly the same that I did, except you did it at a much, much older age. I was early 30s. It took me 4 tries before I actually stuck with P90X. The first 3, massive failures, huge false starts, maybe a week. I think once I got through 2 weeks, and I was just like, no way, right? And I used what's a 4-letter word to us on Sundays, can't. I can't do this, right? This is for me, or I don't belong here.
Right.
And then something switched to me, and there was a much deeper why, and things changed. So when you said, I put it on the shelf after a week, I was sore, I was, in pain. And then all of a sudden I popped it in and I did 90 days. What was the difference? What was the turning point that went from this is too hard versus I'm just going to figure it out and I'm going to make it happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's one that in the different interviews I've done and the calls I've done, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And honestly, it's my family. It was my kids. Like when I saw my kids were growing up and getting older, it became what I wanted to be for my family. To be that solid pillar of the foundation of our family, and to make fitness and nutrition and mindfulness be a big part of that. And I was watching Tony. He became my mentor through a TV screen, where he said, he would say terms like I currently struggle with. My first pull-up attempts was 1.5, and that's all I could do those first couple of weeks. And then slowly I forgot the rest and did my best and did my best and forgot the rest. Funny, I forgot how that term goes. It's only written on my shirt. I've only read it 1,000 times. But back to your point, I really felt like I was at an age at 47, and it was how do I want to, I felt like as a golf pro, around 50, could that be considered making the turn? In golf, making the turn means you finished 9 holes, and now you're making a turn to finish the back 9, right? Golf is 18 holes, front 9, back 9. And that was at a point where I just felt like, I think I'm done with the first 9 holes of life. Now, how do I want to treat the next 9 holes of my life as I make this turn? And as you and I often share, our families are so important to us. And then it was, what do I want to represent for them, and what do I want to show them to inspire them? I can't motivate. I often say that I can't motivate anybody. I might inspire somebody, but motivation is just such an internal button that we all have to motivate ourselves. So, to your point, I really think it was my family in New York, my family here, not only my core family of my bride and my 2 kids, but my extended family here in LA. I wanted to be that beacon for them. And then little did I know that Yeah. So, see, I tell you, when we start going into these questions, I sometimes get a little emotional. But my beacon got brighter, and then somebody started seeing my beacon of light. I'm like, oh, and they started connecting with me, and which we'll get into with what's happening now. But yeah. So without getting too emotional, it was family. It came down to family and what I wanted to be for them.
Well, just to pour a little bit of salt into the wound, we're going to dig even deeper because we're here to challenge each other. And there's no question that my journey is very similar, where for me, it was all about how do I want to show up for my family? And you had the same, I don't know if I'd say revelation, but just kind of a wake up call. Like, wait, if I'm heading towards the back nine, who do I want to be for the back nine of my family? What I want to know is what was happening in your life such that you realized I'm not showing up the way that I want to. And I'll give you my own example real quickly. For me, I was, I don't know, maybe 31, 32. My son was a toddler. And I remember just sitting cross-legged on the floor playing with blocks or something. And I was in so much pain and I was so tired and I stood up and I couldn't stand up straight. And I'm like, I feel like I'm 70 years old. I can't keep up with my kid now. Just wait until he's 5, 10, 15. Like, I want to outlast my kids. Right? Yes. I want to wear them out. And now we go to like a trampoline park or Dojo Boom or something. An hour and a half later, Dad, we're ready to go. And I'm like, what? I'm just getting started. They're like, Dad, we're so tired. I'm like, mission accomplished. Yes. But for me, it started on the floor, not being able to play with my son. What was it for you where you realized I'm not showing up being the person I know that I can be?
Dude, that is really freaky that I never heard that from you. I've never heard that in all the days we've worked out. I've never heard that from you. But wow, like right now I'm realizing that as we dive deeper into this and we continue pulling layers off of this, before P90X, when I was trying to run, trying to form some level of fitness, I had a very similar thing where I was holding my son, holding him up, and I could only hold him for a minute before my back was like, I can't. This is nuts. I can't hold my son for more than a minute without my back going out. So I had some early similarities in that early on. And that's when, prior to P90X, that was when I was starting to run a little bit and trying to do it. And nothing ever really stuck until P90X happened. But, that was a big one for me of holding my kids up and not being able to do it for longer than a minute because I was structurally, I was in too much pain. So that was definitely a hammer to the forehead, if you will, of waking me up and wanted to be better.
Well, anybody that knows you now, that watches you do fitness and all the stuff you're doing on Sundays, they can just go to Instagram and watch any video. But just the mere picture of you only being able to do 1.5 pull-ups and not hold your son, astounding to me, because I've never seen the before version of Scotty.
Yeah, right.
I showed up and I've seen the after version and then the after version, plus. Like I've seen the supersized after version, but I've never seen the before. And I remember watching a video. I think Tony put it on his social media at one point. It was like a couple of years ago, and maybe you had posted it and he shared it too. I don't remember, but it was the pegboard before and after, where you were doing the pegboard to beam to rope, which anybody watching it, they're like, this is just stupid. It is actually very stupid and dangerous, and we're just dumb for doing it every week. But you couldn't even get up to the beam, and I didn't even recognize who you were. But the amazing thing about it was I saw myself in your before, and now that I see your after, what that immediately did for me is it eliminated and negated every single one of my excuses. Because I came to that workout, first of all, saying, well, I'm really too old for this ninja stuff, and I'm not strong enough, and I don't belong here, and I'm going to try my best and, forget the rest and all that good stuff. But realistically, I don't see this happening. And if you're going to idolize somebody like Tony Horton, it's really hard to say, yeah, I could be Tony someday, because the guy is just larger than life, and he spent his entire life getting to where he is now and building this empire and, just kind of building the machine that is his body. So it's really hard to say that with a lot of hard work and effort and eliminating excuses and doubts and overcoming fears, I could be Tony Horton. But then you came along. I'm like, I could totally be at this level if I applied myself, because you were exactly where I was when I started. And to me, that provides both the inspiration and the motivation, because I had to confront in my mind this excuse of, well, I'm too old or I can't do it. I'm like, nope, that's just me totally full of shit, and here's my proof.
Right. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, when I created that video, I did, that was 1 year apart, right? That was my before video was my day one, and the guy that just happened to be there, decided to record it, and so I'm so grateful that he did, because it really showed me the path. And and I'll tell you, Zach, sometimes I don't realize how visually, when someone sees what I can do now at the age that I'm at. Tony and I talk about it often. Like, we worked out this morning. He's 63. I just turned 58. And we often talk about, not often, but we often say, there's not many people our age that are doing the stuff that we're doing. In a way to maybe give ourselves a little bit credit, to be, proud. And I am. It's taken me a couple of years to raise, oddly enough, to raise just the volume of my proud level, if that makes any sense to everybody. But that's a lot for me, because there was times where I didn't have a lot of confidence, and now I just the confidence meter, I've just broken it. Right, it just sort of, that's just a whole nother category or avenue we can go on this, of the confidence of what it does when you really take control of your own fitness and nutrition and mindfulness and all kinds of things. But
well, this idea of confidence and, going both with fitness, but as far as career and family and everything else, I kind of go back to what you said a little while ago about this idea of how losing 40 pounds, it wasn't just a matter of I lost the weight and I look better, but there were so many other positive side effects that came from it. And there's a really simple exercise that I've seen a few people do in the past. I've done it myself. I know that you've certainly done it. But if you wear a 40-pound weight vest, I'm not talking about run 20 miles or do a Murph in it. Just wear a 40-pound weight vest for a couple of hours. You're flipping exhausted. You can't think straight, and all you're focused on is how uncomfortable I am. Now imagine that you're wearing that 40-pound weight vest 24/7. How much harder does that make your life? Not just physically, not just how you look in the mirror, how you show up as a dad, how you show up to your job, what it feels like sitting in a car for 2 hours a day. Like, just that alone has such profound effects on your life, but you just become comfortable. You settle in it, and it's just, well, this is who I am, and you almost don't notice it.
Yeah, that 40-pound, I didn't know I had that to lose, right? I committed to the program, every workout, checking the box, showing up. For many people, they have typically a number that they want to lose off the scale, and I didn't have a number. But by the end of it, 39.5 pounds gone, I didn't realize I had that to lose. I thought I had. If you asked me in the mirror, I said, I should probably lose about 20 pounds or so. But little did I know that actually 40 came off my frame. But you're right. Oftentimes I'll look at my 40-pound dumbbell. I was just grabbing 2 40s this morning doing our bicep curls, and I look at that 40, carrying it from the rack over to the bench and realizing, wow, like I was carrying this weight on my body for several years. Yeah, it's a powerful moment for whether it's 40 or some of the folks I help where they've lost 15 pounds or 10 pounds. I tell them that same exact thing that you just said. Go grab a 15-pound dumbbell or a 10-pound dumbbell. And when someone grabs a 10-pound dumbbell, that's a significant feeling of weight. And when they recognize that, like, yeah, you're right. It's 10 pounds that I was carrying on my frame. It's no longer there.
So where I want to go next is from the point of you've done P90X, you had this digital mentor, which I think there are millions of people that would say they feel like Tony is their fitness mentor, right? So for anybody that's listening right now that's not into fitness or health or anything else that is more into the creative side of things, I can promise this is equally applicable. But if you have somebody that you followed for years, you've really gotten into their work and they've had a profound change, you're like, I'm so glad I did P90X. Here are my pictures of my progress. It's a whole other thing to go from that point to all of a sudden being the star of his workout programs. So what was the switch for you in your head and the change in your life where it went from he's my digital mentor and I'm so glad I changed my life to I need to literally be in his life?
Yes, I love sharing this story of how that evolved. I mean, one, obviously, I live in Los Angeles, and he lives in Los Angeles. You know, if I lived in New York, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast with you. Um, but that whole story, you know, so I'm a P90X graduate, had my success story. He's my mentor through a TV screen. You know, I got involved with Beachbody, the company that he basically helped launch off the ground. I got involved with them. Um, and sure, in the back of my mind, I was like, I think I want to meet him one day. I want to meet him one day. So I would go to this massive 1,000-person event, and I'd have him sign a book. In fact, I have one of the books. I know we're not visual, but I'm holding the big picture, and I'd love to give a shout out to him on that book for at the end of our talk here. But um, uh, and then so the story goes where then P90X certification launched. And when I saw that, I was like, of course I have to get certified. I have to get certified in the program that changed my life forever. So I got in with the very first class at Beachbody Corporate here in Santa Monica, got certified, met Tony, picture ops, nowhere near the level of friendship that we have now that we'll continue to dive deeper into as we go here. And then that ended. And then, you know, you've gotten to know Jack now, one of the directors of that Tony works with the Power 4 program. It was half a year later where I get this email from Jack and says, "Hey Scott, I'm Jack. I'm Tony Horton's YouTube creator director for all his YouTube footage that we film with Beachbody. We did a Google search." And we searched P90X and PGA Golf Pro, and your name popped up. How'd you like to do a collaboration video with Tony Horton? Right. So I often joke that I literally passed out and that the paramedics had to wake me up. And then I call my wife over and I'm like, Jen, look at this email. This email sounds like that this guy Jack wants me to do a collaboration video. So to jump forward a little bit, yes, absolutely. So he and I recorded this really fun golf specific warm up video for his YouTube channel. And then, so we're filming together. So now we get to know each other a little bit more. So now he knows me as the P90X certified guy, PJ Golf Pro here in LA. And then fast forward again. Now I'm somewhat shy still, right? I'm still that way. I'm still more shy of being more bold. It's a whole nother conversation. But fast forward, he and I, we have this connection with veterans. As a golf pro, I work heavily with a nonprofit that helps veterans learn the game of golf, to help veterans keep their mind on something else, which needs to be done for them and what they struggle with. And Tony's a big supporter of veterans. So he and I separately on two different connections were asked to come and do a charity event at the Veterans Facility Golf Course here in West LA. So we show up. Hey, yeah, PJ Golf Pro, Scott, yeah. And then we basically hang out that whole day. And I say, hey, I see you have a yoga and ski retreat in Jackson Hole every year with your buddy Teddy. I want to come to that one day. And he said, yes, you got to come. You got to come. And I'll talk a little about that. But during that day, he just said, here, take my assistant's email and connect with me. And maybe the workouts down at the beach. At the time, it was the beach workouts that some of you might be familiar with, or the YouTube videos of Tony's workouts was down at the beach on Sundays in Santa Monica. And the quiet, it took me a year. It took me a year to send that email to at the time as Shauna was his assistant. And I said, Shauna, hey, it's Scott. It's the PJ Golf Pro. I don't know if Tony remembers me, but what does it cost to join them for one of those Sunday workouts down at the beach? And that took me a year to send that email out. And not 5 minutes later, Zach, I get a response back from Shauna. And she said, Tony's no longer doing the beach workouts down at the beach. Just be here at the house this Sunday at 10 o'clock. And then again, I pass out. Paramedics wake me up, and I realize that, honey, you're not going to believe it, but Tony had just invited me to his house, and my bride just reminded me that it was Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day on that Sunday to be invited up to the house, and that was my first time going to the house of what you and I now know as a Sunday Fun Day workouts, and several ski and yoga retreats in Jackson Hole. And now we've just oddly, I still pinch myself of the friendship that's now formed over these years, which, I reverse engineer back to doing a 90-day program with this goofy guy on the TV that made me laugh. And sometimes I'd mute him. And now here's where we are. Again, I worked out with him this morning with a couple other dudes. And so that's kind of the short, not so much fast story of how it evolved to where I am today.
I love it. And there is a very specific part that I want to dig into deeper, because I have a feeling that you went through a lot of the same things that I did and still go through to this day. And also anybody listening, again, it doesn't have to have anything to do with fitness, but if there's somebody that you really admire from afar, whether it's, a creative professional, like an editor, a director, whoever it is, and you're thinking the following, and I'm sure you thought the same thing: who am I to think that I can connect with this person? And I'm guessing there was a little bit of that, which is what led to a year before you could send the email like, who do I think I am?
Yep. No question. Yeah, I'd say it took a year, but you're right. I mean, what's the old saying that if we never ask, then the answer is always no, right? So I mean, it literally, when I hit send, when I hit that button to send that email, I was freaking out. This is going to be nuts. I shouldn't do this. And I finally pulled the trigger and sent that out. And you're right. I mean, yeah, is the answer always going to be yes every time? No, it's not going to be. But to be bold and to send those emails out that might be uncomfortable to a person that you don't think might have a positive response, that can make a huge difference. And it sure did in my world.
Well, I've actually heard the story about when you got that email from Tony, because I think I had the same team of paramedics, because they told me the story as they were reviving me. They're like, wait, you also just got an email from Tony about going to a workout? That's so weird. Last year, we revived a guy that had the same problem.
Right.
Same exact experience. The logistics were a little bit different, but ultimately got the email from Shauna that said, come to the house this Sunday, show up. And my hands were literally shaking. I'm like, there's just no way. Like, there's no way this is actually happening. And part of it was the fear of, am I going to be able to go? And can I do the push-ups and the pull-ups? And the funny thing is, I went in thinking it was going to be like a P90X workout, like an hour, 70 minutes, not knowing that it's like 4 to 5 hours. Yes. So I had no expectation. Right. But really the fear came down to, who do I think I am working out with Tony Horton? And to be totally brutally honest, that thought still creeps into my head every Saturday afternoon when you and I get the group email that says, who's in tomorrow? I'm like, do I really belong here? Like, after 3.5 years, people have seen the videos. They know that I hold my own. I'm certainly never the best one there. I hold my own, but still my voice inside says, who am I to think I should show up at this workout on Sunday? Yeah,
dude, I feel the same exact thing. We're so parallel, like, I think. And I feel, because I feel the same way. I mean, besides the gratitude that I feel for being able to walk into that his home and do that. But yeah, I mean, and if you and I mean, people might be listening right now thinking like, who on earth is this Tony Horton guy? Like, people, might not have any clue, but to try and put it into context of the listeners in their world, in the editing world, in the high level profession that you are, there's probably a Tony Horton in their life, right? That they could send that message to. And I'll bet some of them, I know you've done such an incredible job what you do. I'll bet there might be somebody listening who might be intimidated to send an email to Zach, to you, about reaching out to you because they're starting out. And so that message is that person listening right now that send that email to Tony Horton, or AKA Tony Horton in their world. I just thought about the listeners listening right now, Zach, but you and I are just, we're so like blown away by Tony Horton, and that we got this response and we get to do this every week, that how could a listener who could care less who Tony Horton is, right, and not have him on pedestal or on how he changed our life, how it could help for them.
Yeah, ultimately for me, it's realizing that whoever it is that you're putting on this giant pedestal, they're not putting themselves on the pedestal. Some of them
Good
might be.
point.
We are talking about Hollywood, so some of them might be, but you probably don't want to connect with them anyways. But the real ones, the authentic ones, they have all their own hangups and their own issues. And you know Tony well, and I know Tony well. The guy's incredibly human. He's very human, right? And you realize it's just another person. And if you can just find a way to provide them a little bit of value and some authentic, genuine friendship, and you don't put them on a pedestal, but you just see them as another person, you can connect. As soon as you stop taking them or stop putting them on the pedestal and you take them off, that's
Right.
where the relationship can develop. And that's where, like you said, this has nothing to do with Tony Horton, Mr. Fitness. It's who's my version? Who is that digital mentor or the person I see from afar that if I got to know them in any capacity could totally change my life? Like you said, you got to put yourself out there and start the conversation.
That's right. That's right. Really good. Really good. And here we are. Here we are. I mean, I go up 2 to 3 days a week. It's as much as I can. And Sundays, I mean, we can talk for 2 more hours about just how Sundays mean to you and I. But yeah, what a big change in my life. And again, back to some 90-day program, deciding to do some push-ups and pull-ups.
And speaking of changes in life, you've also gone through a pretty transformational change recently, which is that after being a PGA golf pro for 97 years straight, now all of a sudden, through circumstances that were not your own, you realize that maybe this isn't something that I'm going to continue going forwards. And now you've reinvented yourself again and again, doing it at your age. Like, isn't it kind of retirement age? Shouldn't you getting ready to, be the guy on the golf cart that's just playing golf and traveling? But no, like you decided I got to start my own little mini revolution.
That's right. Yeah. And you're right. It's almost to the day. Today's the 14th, but it's almost to the day that I launched the Sweatville Club. I mean, it all stemmed from being a cast member, being one of Tony's cast members in multiple programs now, and in double time with Beachbody, Next Level, and now finishing up with the Power 4 that you and I both helped film this last month. But yeah, and then, so my job, my PGA general manager job ended in February of this year. And that was a big turning point for me to decide. But the feedback I kept getting about the inspiration that I am to people. I was doing some live workouts on Facebook when the pandemic hit in March of 2020. And every Friday I would just go live and people would hop on and more people hop on and more people hop on. And then it transitioned to, I said, I got tired of doing it live on Facebook, because on Facebook Live, as you all know, you just watch yourself. You watch yourself and people comment. And eventually I said, you know what? I can't tell if you guys are just sitting on your couch, just watching me work out. We got to switch this over to Zoom. So then I transitioned to Zoom, and now we do the Zoom workouts live. But going back to, to me, to be at 57 years of age and now 58, to decide to lean into this passion that I now have for fitness. It's scary. It's definitely scary, right? It's my own thing, right? Like I don't just show up and punch a clock and collect my paycheck. Like if I want to make stuff happen, I got to make it happen on my own. And it's been an interesting challenge to me, but I would definitely put my ability to do it again roots back to my fitness and my fitness that I've created over these last 10 years, that not only have made me physically stronger, but I'm mentally. There's no question that I'm mentally stronger. If I didn't have that, there's no way I'd be leaning into to try and start an online club with people all around the world, from Netherlands, Australia, and here in the U.S., of people who just absolutely love working out together on a Zoom call. I had no idea that it had the legs, the wheels that it does. But yeah, scary at the same time. So excited to meet new people every month that are hopping and joining us.
And that's going to bring me back to almost exactly the same question where we started almost in the beginning, which is why? Like at your
Yeah.
age, you've kind of been handed the golden ticket of, no excuses. You did nothing wrong, but the PGA golf thing just kind of ended because of circumstances that had nothing to do with you. I don't know your exact financial circumstances, but I'm guessing you're not going to be destitute if you don't get a paycheck in a week. So why not just settle and why decide I'm going to do one of the scariest things on the planet, which is start my own business?
Yes. You know what? It really comes down to the feedback I was getting. Like, when my golf job ended, could I have just, threw the resume out there and just, I could have found another golf job and just sat back and be that employee and not have control of my own life. So that's another part of this narrative that I'm creating, is that I really felt deep down inside that I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't want to have a boss anymore. I wanted to make the calls. I wanted to be, and now, I literally can do this job that I'm doing now from anywhere in the world. I ran it as I was on the trip to New York. Yeah. And, I'm fortunate that, my bride works full time. She got a great gig with an insurance company. So that's a big factor here. Like if we didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be in a position to be able to launch this from the ground up at dollar one, which leads to, all right, 10 people joined. All right. And then I started, when I started this almost a month ago, I basically started with founding members. I wanted to get a group of founding members, these people who, again, I've gotten to meet through Tony and the Power Nation group. They're a big part of the people who follow me. And the feedback I was getting from them was saying, I got to try this. I got to do this. I do not want to become 85 years old. And the story you hear about somebody in your senior home, where they often say, I regret not doing this. I regret not doing that. And that is not going to be me. I do not want to get to those days where I can't do the things that I do now and have that answer. So again, I think it's the feedback I get from these folks that do the workouts with me, and that really inspires me, which then motivates me to do these live workouts 4 days a week.
Well, and that reminds me of a post that you put up. It might have been today, yesterday, I don't remember when, but one of the posts you put up on Instagram, which is a very recurring incident for all of us on Sundays, is when we rip our hands open. And you had said this thing stings like a mother, but it doesn't sting as much as the regret of not trying.
Oh, yes. Those are kind of things. I don't know how that came out of my brain, because I am not that smart, but it simply just rolled out. I'm like, that kind of sounds cool. That thing is, you guys can't see it on the screen, but
I've got one for you too. We're right there together. Yeah. That's my weekly one that I have.
Yeah. For the folks listening, we're showing off our flappers, as we call it, where it's, and it stings like a mother. But yeah, thanks, dude. I mean, that's exactly how that felt, tying into the tails of what you just said. Like, I don't want to, that day come, like, I wonder if I would have tried harder in that ninja course, or even showed up. Right. And that's not going to be me.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you too, where, every Saturday we get the email and you stare at the phone. You're like, I don't know. Yeah, should I? I already cleared it with the wife. I already know I've got the time. I have no excuses. There's got to be a reason I can get out of it. Fine, you send the email, right? But never once have I gotten in my car Sunday afternoon and said, you know what? I regret having gone today. I wish that I hadn't, right? There's so much fear and apprehension. But even with 4 flappers, blood, whatever it is, I've never said, you know what? I shouldn't have gone today.
Yeah, I mean, that's, boy, what a message there is to that. And that message is about saying yes, right? I mean, I often hear, Tony say, what is saying no to something? What are the first 2 letters of the word nothing? Is no. So when you say no, what do you get? You get nothing. You can hear his voice saying that, I'm sure, Zach. But and they've often credited just my being of someone who really likes saying yes. The yoga and skier trip in Jackson Hole that he and Teddy put on every year. That's something I say yes to every year. Saying yes when these emails show up, saying yes to different things that come up that I know are going to challenge me in life. There's a deep message in that too, of saying yes more often to things that potentially could be uncomfortable, or definitely are uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, because it's so funny that the message I share on this show so often is you need to learn how to use the word no, because you're saying yes to all of the wrong things that are comfortable and not scary.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is you need to say yes to the things that are scary.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Because so many people, like, I have built an entire business around people that are miserable and stuck in their lives because they've been saying yes to all the wrong things for decades. So yes is a great and very powerful word in the right context, but can be very detrimental in the wrong context. And you've learned how to say yes to the scary stuff where your brain and your heart are like, no. You're like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Yes, let's figure it out. Right?
Yep. Exactly right. And the flip side of that for me is now very oddly, I mean, little did I know this, the version of me that I've created myself, this machine, if you will. I've got people reaching out to me with talking about products, and apparently I'm a micro influencer on social media, where they're reaching out to me talking about their products. And now I literally have a box over on the kitchen of a new company that I'm really excited about, because they're all about plant-based. They're all about, which I've become 4.5 years ago, being plant-based, and super proud of it. And I was researching this company, and they reached out to me out of the blue, and they said, "Hey, we just been watching your message that you've been sharing on social media. And we'd love it if you would consider being an empowered ambassador for our plant-based message." So that's pretty cool. But my point being is that some of them I've said no to, because I can't say yes to all those. There's a little bit of different context, obviously, in terms of something really scary. But these were just no, because that some of them just didn't line up with me. And I didn't want to fill my plate and have too many spinning plates, as we sometimes do, like being in a circus, right? I just always think of the guy in the circus just spinning those 20 plates and having to run to every plate to make sure that they don't fall. That was me at one time, where I would just simply try and spin too many plates at one time.
Yeah, I've definitely been known to both spin plates and juggle flaming chainsaws simultaneously. It doesn't work out well for anyone, which I've spent years trying to figure out how to better balance all those things. But talking about this plant-based thing is what I would call in the industry the perfect segue, because it's exactly where I wanted to go next, is really helping people understand. And what I don't want to do is get into the dogma and religion of nutrition, because as you know very well, you start talking about food and people get very offended, very dogmatic, and they have their ideas about this is right, this is wrong, you're crazy, I'm crazy, it needs to be all meat, all plants. Like, it's a vortex of a black hole of a Pandora's box. I have no interest in going down, but I want you to talk about your experiences making the transition of plant-based, why, and the results that you've gotten.
Love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, polarizing conversation. It can go, or topic rather. It's so I'm working out with Tony one morning, 4.5 years ago. In fact, it was on a Tuesday, on the same day that we're recording this. And he and Darren O'Lean is another book to shout out, Super Life book by Darren O'Lean.
I've actually had him on the podcast, by the way, so I will make sure to link to our interview in the show notes, talking all about that. Shameless plug. And now back to you.
Love it. So we're sitting there, and Tony just simply said, "Hey, what do you say we do a 14-day challenge, a nutritional challenge?" And right away, I didn't even know what it involved, but I knew at the time I had my fitness pretty much. I was showing up. I was doing the pull-ups, doing the push-ups, but nutritionally, there was no game plan. There was no rhyme or reason to what I was doing. So I like being challenged. So I was ready for a nutritional challenge. I knew I needed it. So he said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch a documentary, and then we're going to eliminate beef, pork, chicken, seafood, and dairy. We're going to eliminate those 5 things for 14 days. That's it. I said, I can do that. I can do that. And then so I eliminated it for 14 days. Felt pretty good after 14 days. And day 15, I just decided to keep going with it. And then what changed for me was when I got a personal best on the pegboard, which out of the listeners might be listening, you and I might be the only ones that know what an actual pegboard is. But pegboard is a physical fitness equipment, which, as you can imagine, there's 2 pegs. You got 2 pegs in both hands, and there's holes in a big board, and you climb that thing. About week 4 is when, and the only thing I had changed was eliminate those 5 things from my diet. And on week 4, I finally had a personal best physically on that pegboard. And when that moment came, I don't even know if you were there that day, but when that moment came and I was able to do multiple more trips around that board, which I wasn't able to do 30 days earlier, that's when everybody was like, what are you doing? What are you doing differently? What are you doing differently? What are you doing at home? I said, you know what? I'm not doing anything physically differently, but I've changed my nutrition. And this is what I've done. So when I had that experience, because as you can attest, Zach, or Sundays can sometimes be a fog of testosterone that we have to
can they
through.
Really?
That we have to
the waft of testosterone, yes,
to try and beat the next guy. And we all want that. We all are. Well, I shouldn't say all of us, but some of us want those challenges to try and beat the next guy or gal or whatever it is. And when I felt that improvement, I'm like, I'm going to keep going with this thing because I think I'm getting stronger. And I've lost a couple pounds. I wasn't looking to lose any weight. I was just looking to challenge myself nutritionally. And that was almost 4.5 years ago.
But I don't understand. How do you get your protein? How many times have you been asked that question?
Yes, it is asked every single time. And now my token response now is that, are you familiar with Pinterest? So I send them to Pinterest and I tell them to go in a search bar and just type in plant proteins. And lo and behold, there'll be 372,000 images on Pinterest of where I get my protein from. And I didn't know, again, my challenge at first was just to eliminate 5 things from my diet. I knew protein was important, but little did I know how much protein was in plants. And then I went down the proverbial rabbit hole, and I wanted to research it more. I'm big on being a student. That's another great message I would hope that this people listening is that to be a forever student, whatever direction you want to go, just to be a student, to learn about ourselves. But that's what I did. I went down that road. I started learning more about what Darren Aline's message and Rich Roll and Brendan Brazier. The list goes on and on of different people that were air quotes plant-based. And then as I watched what they were doing, my gosh, they're doing stuff that's 10 times harder than what I'm physically trying to do, and they're surviving on plants. So that was sort of a confirmation for me. If I wanted to continue this, can I still get my protein intake? And now it's been super easy to hit those numbers. But you're right. That's the first question that is asked whenever I share with somebody that I'm plant-based or vegan or whatever you want to call it.
So then I would guess, maybe it's not the next question, but I would guess that one of the most common question is, yeah, but what do you do when you really want a steak or you want some cheese? Like, how do you deal with that? Because I'm sure you just want that stuff all the time, and you have to use willpower to say no and to stay plant-based. Yeah.
So the group that I've started, when I started my 14-day playbook group, right? So I have a 14-day playbook, and when they select that, I put them into a private group. And I tell them, I say, it's not mandatory to be plant-based. I said, if I've been able to affect where your 100% scale went from 50% plants and 50% animal products, if I'm able to make that 60-40 or 70-30, then I feel that my message has been successful. Because I just become a poster child for plants being able to survive on plants. So my point being is, I tell them that hey, if that's your thing and you want to grab a steak or you want to have cheese, and go ahead and do that. So yeah, I get it. And that was me, right? I grew up on all the animal products. I was bacon. Bacon was a standard thing in my diet 3 days a week.
It's a food group, isn't it? Isn't bacon an actual one of the 4 food groups?
And like I mentioned, I was a general manager at our golf course. So as a GM, you're in charge of every department. And what department is that? That's the kitchen. So I got to go in the kitchen, and it became a joke before I went plant-based, obviously, is that the guys would see me coming to do the daily bacon quality check, quality control check. And there I was checking the bacon. So there's days there where I was literally having bacon 5 to 6 days a week. But yeah, now I don't, I don't miss it. I know that's a big thing with some of the people in my group, is that they feel like they're going to miss it. But when I get them to try that 14 days, they're okay to be without it. And then, they have it less. They just simply have it less because they feel better after the 14 days. So I tell them, well, I'm no doctor. I don't play one on TV, but I kind of think that the saturated fat that's in that might be part of why you feel a little better and not sluggish. Yeah, we can go all different paths here. But
we certainly could, and I don't want to again go down as you said, the rabbit hole talking about all the areas where people can dispute this fact or that fact. Like for me, it's all about personal stories and personal results. And because I know that there's going to be a large portion of people listening to this, that it's not about how do I get 6-pack abs or how do I get in Tony Horton's backyard, but the currency in my industry is creativity. The longer you can maintain creativity and sharpness and problem solving, the more value you have. So talk to me specifically about the changes you saw in your mental acuity when you decided to switch to a plant-based diet.
Yeah, that was phase 2 of me really taking a inventory of what was going on. Right, like I had that physical experience of being able to have personal best physically in the stuff that we do, but then it made me pause, and it made me pause and do an inventory of, okay, that happened physically. Now let's really take an inventory of my mental clarity and focus at the job I was doing as the general manager and having the responsibilities I had. And that's where I really felt like the sharpness, at work, my energy level was at a heightened level, which just kept pushing me back to, by just making this simple little change, I was sharper. There was no question. I was sharper. I was sharper in talking to customers. I was sharper in dealing with my own personal clients of my students. Right. So I'm a golf professional. I'm a teacher as well. So I recognize that on a very simple focus, when you're teaching somebody a physical movement, well, you've got to be focused. You can't be just sluggish and dozing off, if you will, or being nearly falling asleep. Sharp. And I would literally be in a lesson, Zach, where my lessons were about 40 minutes. Most of my lessons were 40 minutes. And before that, I can literally feel like I was checking my clock after like 7 minutes, like hoping for it to end so I can go back and sit at my desk. But then with this new experience I was having, it's kind of free. It was kind of freaky when I think about it, because as that 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the lesson, I literally felt like I was a better teacher, that I was more in tune with exactly what that student was doing. And then the lesson would be over. And I would literally, again, pause and take a little self-inventory. I'm like, wow, I was so in tune with that student and helping them improve their golf game. Um, which has not become a big part now, this whole fitness world, and helping people with their fitness and their nutrition and their well-being is why I've made this pivot in life. But to feel and experience that again, I reverse engineered or just reverse time. Like, why is that? Why is that? And I kept pointing back to my nutrition and the things that I was putting in my pie hole. I think we're serving on a cellular level. We're serving me personally better, and that continued to motivate me to continue staying plant based. So those were big moments for me on that, especially with students, again, and family and employees and clients and customers and just everything I was dealing with the budgets and the fiscal reports I had to do and because I had a fiduciary responsibility to the city that owned that golf course and that facility. So there were numbers. That was a numbers game. And I had to be sharp in those numbers. And I was, and even my bosses, they recognized it too. And the reports I was creating and being able to pick up on things from month to month on our P&L reports, I was better. I was a better human being. Not only a better employee, which they loved, but I was a better human being on how I lived my life when my eyes were open.
I want to make sure that everybody listening today, if they're interested in going down this path, they want to try out Sweatville, they want to try out the 14-day challenge and ask, what if I were to eliminate these things from my diet? I want them to be able to find all that information. We're going to get there very, very soon. And I want to be conscious of your time, but I have one more question. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a time machine and we're going to travel back in time to the day you quit P90X on week 1. You did it for a week. You were super sore. You were tired. You could barely hold your son. Your back hurt. What advice are you going to give to yourself knowing what you know now?
Right. So the time machine of when I first did P90X and then I quit it.
Yep. So the day, so it's it's day 7, week 1. You're like, nope, this is not for me. What advice do you give yourself on that day when you said, I quit, I can't do this?
Oh, yeah, that's great. Because there's, because when I did quit it, I quit it because I literally, I needed to help up from the toilet bowl. Speaking about how your legs feel after the plyometrics day, and I literally couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't put my arm over my head. So that was one reason. But now, if I can go and talk to that person, I would tell them to still show up, to make it a non-negotiable. This I often share is that it's non-negotiable. I put it on my calendar. It's non-negotiable that I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my best and forget the rest, like it's on the back of my T-shirt and Tony's famous line. But if I went back to that of not, it would be, dude, I know you're in pain. I know you're struggling. I know it's super sore, but you have day 8. You've just finished day 7. Check off the box on day 8. It's okay if you can't do 3 pull-ups yet. It's okay if you can't do more than 15 push-ups. You're going to do your 14. You're going to fast forward through Tony and the guys knocking out 40 push-ups or 20 pull-ups and fast forward through those. And then just move it to the next workout and check off day 8. And then in your calendar, day 9 is non-negotiable. Boy, I wish I would have heard this back then.
Well, there's somebody right now, whatever their version of I've done 7 days and I quit, I can't do it. Somebody needs to hear that advice, right? Because I think to myself, if I can't, I made the decision in this very spot. I remember I don't remember the exact day, but it was during the holiday season of 2017. I'd had one of the worst years of my life. I call 2017 my lost year. I had burnout. I was having horrible experiences with work. I literally, and I've talked about this before, but it's still hard to talk about. My mental health was so bad that I was in the fetal position in bed saying to myself, my family would be better off without me. And at the end of that year, I sat in this room with my wife during the holiday season and said, I have a crazy idea. And she's like, yeah, what is it? Because I tell her that all the time. All of my ideas are crazy. She's like, yeah, okay, what's this one? And I said, I think I want to be on American Ninja Warrior. And she looked at me and she's like, okay. And I was like, really? That's it? She's like, yeah, I can totally see that. If I were to go back to that moment, I can't even imagine if I had chosen not to do that. The last 4 years, oh my God, has it been difficult and challenging and scary and terrifying, and there's been pain and sore. Like, I don't remember what it feels like to not be sore. 4 years of waking up every day being sore, but I can't imagine having it any other way and having decided not to do it because I was scared. And there are a lot of people at that precipice, and whatever it is, their career, their family, their relationships, their fitness, their health, they're on that precipice. They have to choose one path or the other. Man, choose the scary one.
Wow. Yeah. What a great share right there. That's a nugget. That is a nugget. And I appreciate you asking that question, because no one has ever asked me that question. When I talk about quitting after week 1 and then not plugging and pushing play for, I think it was 6, 7, maybe 8 months later. No one's asked me that question before. And what a great question to ask, Zach. Thanks for asking that and making
you bet. And
hop in that time machine.
And thank you so much for being here and so willingly and honestly sharing your story. Now comes the big question. How do people join Sweatville and get your 14-day pack, and how do they become superhuman like you?
Oh, I appreciate that. Appreciate that, dude. So my son, Jake, I got to give him a shout out because he's the one who's helped me. I don't know how to create a website. How do you create a website? So he helped me create a website, but my website is pretty simple. Scotty Mo. My nickname has become Scotty Mo over the last couple of years, but ScottyMo.xyz. Apparently XYZ is one of the new .coms, right? So Scotty Mo.
It's very trendy.
Oh, good. Oh, wow. Look at that. I'm 58 and I'm trendy. Go figure. But ScottyMo.xyz is basically where I'm housing everything that I do, whether it was be someone who's interested to see what the Sweatville Club. Sweatville is a name that just popped out of my cranium a year ago, where we call it Sweatville. And now there's basically a membership where people, they pay $27 a month to be a member. They currently get 4 workouts a week that are live on Zoom. They don't have to have their camera on. They don't have to have their audio on if they don't feel comfortable with that. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm actually recording some of them, where then they're going to be housed in a library where they can watch recordings of them. And then, on the ScottyMo.xyz is the, my first product was a 14-day plant-based playbook. That's an 82-page document, which when people sign up to become a member, they get that document. It's normally a $27 playbook. But they get that, and I also created a fitness planner, so a 25-page fitness planner for people that like the pen and paper, which is like me. I like to see my penmanship, my handwriting, write stuff down in my journal and my paper. So so ScottyMo.xyz is basically where they would see everything that I do. This new company that I'm dialing in with, and I'm pretty excited about. So now I'm becoming an ambassador. Got to give a shout out to Power Life and Tony Horton's nutritional line and Power Life. I'm an ambassador for them as well. I'm still involved with Beachbody. So on my site is basically going to show people everything that I'm currently trying to lean into and take ownership of it. And it's all on me. It's all on my shoulders. I don't have bosses that I have to answer to. If I'm going to make it, if I'm going to fail, it's good to me. And if I make it, it's going to be biggest to me and the support team that I surround myself with. And you, my friend, are one of those support people that I surround myself with.
Well, I appreciate that. And I highly encourage anybody that wants to be in a supportive environment to make some of these changes where it's not some boot camp instructor making you feel bad about yourself and yelling at you. It's a really supportive environment, right. Very accessible, right in your living room via Zoom. Great resources to get started, whether or not you want to go plant-based, just decrease by 5%, whatever it is. I can't imagine anybody more encouraging or positive to work with than you, my friend. So dude, on that note, can't thank you enough for carving out the time today to chat with me and inspiring my audience.
Much appreciation, my man. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you for listening to episode 173 of the Optimize Yourself podcast. To access the show notes for this episode with all the bonus links and resources that we discussed today, as well as to subscribe, leave a review, and more, simply visit optimizeyourself.me/episode 173. Once again, thank you so much for investing your time and energy with me here today. Stay safe, healthy, and sane, and most importantly, be well.